Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Key to Football with me, Bobby Mays, and I've got Mr. Liam George back from, wherever Liam has been for the last month. I think it's been quite a busy month for you, Liam. You've been overseas, injured, work.
On the operating theatre table, overseas. Had a nice little trip to Miami. Yes, it's been a busy one, but I'm glad to be back.
That's very
Back
good.
fruited.
Good to have you back. And since you've been gone, it's been great to see that Arsenal have not disappointed you, and they did exactly what we thought they would, and that's fall off a cliff. Look, let's get into the podcast today. We've got a great one ahead of you. We've got some really cool talking points that we want to talk about. But just before we start, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You'll also find us on YouTube. So please have a look for us on YouTube. It's The Key to Football, spelled correctly. So The Key to Football. And yeah, we're back. We are back. It's really good to have everybody giving us some feedback. I feel like the podcast is just as popular as ever. So yeah, we're really, really happy with the way it's going. Look, let's get into our main talking points, Liam. And the first thing I want to talk about is, well, where else to start but the quad. There is the quad is on. Liverpool just beat City 2-3 in the FA Cup semi-finals. Going into the final, they'll be playing Chelsea, who beat Palace 2-0. And look, we'll talk about Liverpool versus City in a little bit, because it was a great game of football. But there is never been a quadruple winning team in the Premier League. And I don't know if it's on. I want to get your opinion if it's on, but there is definitely a chance if Liverpool win 11 games, all 11 of their last games, they at least win a treble. But if City lose, then they could win the quad. So do you think it's on, Liam? What do you think?
I mean, it is, of course, it's on. It's there. You know, they've already won one. They're in a final for the FA Cup. They're a semi-final for the Champions League, and you know they're well within a touch now of the Premier League. I think there's. I don't know. I think treble is definitely on. I think you guys can beat Liverpool. You guys can beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final for sure. Mm-hmm. I think with everything else going on, you know, with you still in the Champions League, with that final on the horizon, is there going to be Prem games where maybe, you know, they're not as big, an away trip somewhere that's, you know, not as big as a game that you guys have been playing in the last few weeks? Do you then stumble in that, and then maybe the Premier League starts to claw away from you? Because obviously Man City is still in the Champions League, but whether they, you know, they've got now the ability to separate those games and just concentrate on one and then concentrate on the other, wherever you guys have still got free fields of view that you're focusing on. So I don't know. It's probably the closest it's been to ever happening. And if there's a team that could do it, it is definitely you guys or City to do it. And you've just beaten City. So it is on. It's scary though. It is scary from my perspective. I'm like, no.
So here's what I've said, right? Here's what I said on my last podcast. I don't know if you actually got a chance to listen to it. But I said on my last podcast that if Liverpool win all of their last Premier League games, they will win the title. I think that I think City will drop points, but I don't think that Liverpool will win all those games. So like if they drop points, they definitely won't win it. If they don't drop points, they will win it, because I think City's running, though it's easier. Sometimes those teams against Brighton are the harder games. They just, you know, I think when you get yourself up for the Liverpool Man U games, you get yourself up for the Liverpool Everton games, because you know you have to. I think if they win out, they'll win that. The FA Cup, Chelsea's a really tough opponent. That's a tough game. Chelsea will be focusing on that. I mean, just on confidence alone, I think we'll probably win that. But that's not an easy game. That is a very, very hard game. And the Champions League final, I think if we play City, it'll be, I mean, it'll be the game we've all been waiting for years, like the actual pinnacle of these two heavyweight teams going at it. And I think experience in that final from the Liverpool perspective might actually win it. So I'm going to go, we win the UCL and they win the Champions League. And I think the treble's on. The quad is so hard.
They win Champions League.
No, I think we win the Champions League. Sorry,
oh,
I think they win the. I think they win the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, look, if as a betting man right now, if you're asking me which is probably going to be the most likely conclusion to this, I do think it will be City for the Prem, and then you for the FA Cup, and also the Champions League.
There is a chance that Liverpool only win the League Cup, like a
there is, of course,
a pretty. It's not more likely probably than the quad. There is this, Liverpool play Chelsea in the FA Cup, very hard game. They have to go through Man City or Real Madrid, or I'm just saying that we're going to beat Villarreal. I genuinely don't see that too much.
I think you've got a lot of tough games coming up, though. This is what I mean. So this is why I think maybe the Prem slips away from you, because you've got to play United twice. You've got Spurs in there. You've got Villa in there.
United once, isn't it? It's just
I
United
think
once.
You've got. Unless I'm being lied
I think it's.
We've got another one to be rearranged, but that actually might be the one that's been rearranged for this week. Right?
Yeah, I think it is, because we won 5-0 against them before.
Oh, of course you did. Yeah. Okay, fine. So yeah, you've got Everton in there. You've got Newcastle. You've got Spurs. You've got Southampton away, which is I know is a difficult place to go. And then you've got Wolves. There's a lot of teams there that are, haven't really got anything left to play with.
Yeah.
And sometimes with that, in a sense, it can be quite dangerous because they'll just go for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will definitely be an interesting finale, and I think the treble is there to be done. I think if you come away with less than a treble, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I think my reason of why I think Liverpool will win if Liverpool win out is that they will be so mentally wanting to win the Premier League. I genuinely think they'll put all their eggs in the basket to the Premier League, and though they might not have it in control, those Real Madrid games for City are just they are going to have to play their strongest team around that Real Madrid game.
Yeah.
They can't take their eggs off the basket, because that's Guardiola's legacy right there.
For City, they need to win the Champions League.
So inside and outside of Man City, Real Madrid, they have Leeds and they have Newcastle. So not the hardest games. They have Watford before and West Ham after as well. So it's not tough. Not when I say not tough games, they're reasonably, they're just Premier League games, right? But those are the sort of games where they think, all right, well, we can rest players against Leeds. We can rest players against Newcastle. But and then those are the sort, like Newcastle. I mean, yeah, if that was Newcastle at home, I'd see that as potential banana skin, but it's away. So I don't know. The run is definitely easier for City. Let's just say that.
And I think they've got the squad to deal with that as well. I agree. Yeah, I think those games
without De Bruyne, though, like potentially without De Bruyne. Without Walker, I think without Walker and De Bruyne, that's pretty brutal.
They're a loss for sure. Yeah, absolutely, they're a loss. But we've seen it time and time again. The amount of times that City have pulled through. I mean, De Bruyne is he's not a newcomer when it comes to injuries. The guy is pretty injury prone when we think about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think they've always managed to get by without him. You got Gundogan, who's not been on sort of the form he was maybe last year, but when it comes to moments where they need to step up, they've got that class in depth to be able to fill those voids. And you're not going to be able to replace a player like De Bruyne for sure, but they've got enough there, I think, in between those big games to see off the likes of a struggling Leeds and a Newcastle at home and a West Ham that are going to be, focusing on the UEFA. So I think that they've got lucky really with how it's fallen. Because I think if they had a couple of tough games, if they had, maybe a couple of top 6 teams thrown in there in between those two legs, then it starts to get a bit tricky.
City just blow top 6 teams out the water. Apart from Liverpool and Chelsea, they run them over.
The Champions League comes into it, right?
Yeah, I guess they just run over. Like if they were playing Arsenal, I'd be like, well, City will win 5-0. If they if they play United, City will win 5-0, whatever. But if they're playing Brighton, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a sketchy 1-0 win by City. They're going to really
sit back.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, you are right. You are right. I think I just want to speak quickly about that Liverpool City game at the weekend. I think because of a last week's game, I think you've seen, like, there was a lot of people coming out and saying, oh, City are a better side than Liverpool. And because of that first half in the original game. And then you've just seen this weekend how close these two teams are, because they are capable on each day of blowing the other team out the water in the first half. Because a week ago, Liverpool City, Man City should have been up 5-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
This week, Liverpool should have been up 5-0 at halftime. They're up 3-0. It just shows you these two teams are a different caliber to everybody else, and they respect and they fear each other more than any other team. And I just think it was great. It really showed how crucial Sadio Mane is to Liverpool this week, in the last couple of weeks, and how big a player he is. I got a message from George, him saying that he's never, he's been against Mo Salah being the best player in that team for years. And I just said, you could say it now after, like, Mo's on a bit of a bad run of form, but to be honest, Salah was the worst out of that front three this week. He had the lowest touches, the lowest completion of passes, the lowest, he had a couple shots on target, and Diaz didn't have any shots on target, but Diaz set up a goal. And then Sadio Mane obviously had 3 shots on target, scored 2. One of them was class and one of them was from pressing. So Sadio Mane looking absolute fire in that front three. And I think it's just showing how big that rotation is as well, because you still had Bobby Firmino, who played his best game of the season midweek against Benfica. And you have Jota, who can come on the pitch and score at any point in time because he's an absolute killer. It's a pretty nice time to be a Liverpool fan, but probably not a nice time to be a Liverpool front 5 player, because you're really battling for your spot.
Well, I think that's keeping the standards up, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The fact that any one of them, if they have a couple of poor games, I mean, whether Salah feels that way, I'm not sure, because I feel like he's done enough to warrant a starting spot probably for the foreseeable. But I think, if, like I said, if Jota's been on fire, but then one week he gets dropped for Mane or for Diaz, and the other comes in and seems to put in a fine performance. So I don't think any of them are safe, but I think that is the reason why they're performing so well.
I mean, Salah's going to keep his spot, and it's not even because he could be playing well, but to mark Salah, you need 2 people on him, and you can't even attack on that wing.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, maybe Cancelo can do it, because he essentially just runs at Trent and whatnot. He just goes for it. But he's probably the only player in the whole league that will actually challenge him that way, because they have the firepower to kill off Liverpool. But at the same time, you need Salah on the pitch to get Mane and to get Diaz and to get Jota free, because he controls it, and he is playing like, I think that some of the criticism has been pretty harsh on him, because I think some of his key passes, especially against Benfica, he was really good against Benfica in terms of actually setting up. There was a couple of plays, I don't know if they even scored off it, but I remember setting up Jota. I think he's getting a bit harsh, but he needs to score, get back on that winning track, and silence the critics. Look, we're talking for the quad. We're now going to talk about top 4. So, keeping it current, keeping it in the realm. Well, let's just say I just want to talk about Arsenal with you. And
stop beating around the bush, Rob. Just say what you want to say.
Look, I had a discussion with you and Jack, and I actually thought, as I was setting this up, we should have got Jack on for this, because I asked you guys a question. The question was, would it be a failure if Arsenal didn't finish top 4? Now, Arsenal is still in contention for top 4. There's by no means that they are not going to finish top 4.
Yeah.
But they have really no way to, beat around it. They've made this an absolute mess for themselves.
Yeah, they've fallen off the wagon for sure.
They've really made they're not the form team in that top 4. They've not got the confidence at the moment of other teams in the top. Like, they might have confidence, but not as compared to Spurs maybe, or compared to even United after that win. Right? I don't think United will do it, but just like, I think is it 3 losses in your last 4 games for Arsenal? Just off the top of my head.
3 in a bounce, yeah. So I think we were in the driving seat, and I think I did say to you that at that time, the position we were in and the games we had remaining, we've got an obligation to just win every game. That's all we have to do. We have to stop looking around, and football's not that easy. But if we win every game, we will get top four. So you asked me, is it a disaster? And everyone's keen to hear this from Arsenal fans. Is it a disaster if you don't get it now? Should Mikel go? And it's baiting. It is baiting people to respond to that, right? But I said yes, and I stand by that because, as I said, we were in control. And what we've gone and done now, a loss every now and again is going to happen. Freak games are going to happen. But we've performed poorly back to back 3 times now, and we've been punished for it. And the Palace game just wasn't good enough. No shadow of a doubt. That game, we probably well overdue that game. I think that was our second game of the season where the other one was Everton, and we just didn't look up to it. We didn't battle. We never looked like we were getting close to Palace at all, and Palace just wanted it more. So, that's one of those 3-0 defeats that you have to look at and think they probably have 3 or 4 chances to score 3 of the goals. We never looked like scoring really, other than a couple of half chances. So you have to swallow those ones. And then we go and get beat by Brighton at home. That's a must win. I know Brighton are playing well and they've just gone to beat Spurs at home as well, but that for me is a must win. You can't be losing that game as emphatically as we did. And then I didn't manage to watch the Southampton game live because I was playing myself, but I had 0 hope in that game. 0 hope because
why?
I mean, even though Southampton have been poor recently, I think their results have been actually probably a lot worse than ours. But going away to Southampton, I think we've always found it quite difficult. It can be a difficult place to go if Southampton are on it and are up for it. And I felt like it would follow a similar vein to the Palace game. And again, I've obviously seen the highlights. You can't really get a feel for it, but I was nowhere near surprised to see that we'd been beat 1-0. And
so
also,
look,
sorry.
I was just going to say, the good news is it is still all in your own hands, because if you win out, you'll still make it because you play Spurs and you play United. However, how do you feel about those 2 games? Because let's be very honest. You have the toughest run out of all of those teams because you've still got Chelsea, United, and Arsenal, and even West Ham in those last 7 games. So you have 4 of those top 6, 7, 8, 8 teams essentially to play. How do you feel about those games? Do you think you're going to get results against Chelsea, Man United, West Ham, and Tottenham?
I don't think so. No, I actually think it's.
God,
I'm honest. I think it's probably past us by now. I think these were the games leading up to those big games that if you were to get beat in those big games, you still be within the touching distance we're in now. We've lost the 3 games that we should have won, or at least taken some points from, and we've taken 0 from 9, which leaves us in a really terrible position. So I think I said to you before, right? We discussed for I think since January where we let so many players go and we didn't replace anyone. And I said that I don't know if I said it on here. I've definitely said it to you, but I don't know if we said it on here. That we are 1 or 2 injuries away from being screwed, and we lost Partey in that game at Palace, and we lost Tierney the on the
that's massive. That was huge.
And that is, we've got a left back there in Tavares that Arteta's just not having, even though he had a good start to the season. So what he's decided to do is then disrupt, and this is where it's really annoyed me. He's disrupted the whole feeling and the way that we've been playing, especially after losing a centre midfielder in Partey. He's then moved Xhaka out to left back, and then we've got a whole new centre midfield, which the centre midfield has been a massive part of us playing well. So he's now disrupted the whole flow of the team, and he's moved Xhaka out to left back, and it's not worked once. He even admitted actually in his interview last week, someone asked him, they said, are you going to put Tavares in? Because, you've obviously been putting Xhaka in, but Xhaka's not been playing well in there. And he said, yeah, look, if you look at the numbers, Tavares and Xhaka, when they've both played there, they've both done equally as bad. So then my answer to that was, okay, so if you have the option to keep Xhaka and keep some stability in that middle of the park, why would you not do that? And then put Lokonga beside him and just at least keep a bit of familiarity in that middle of the park. He's tried to be too pep about it. And he's gone and tried to tweak this and tweak that and move too many people about. It's not worked. We've been found out. 3 losses on a bounce is terrible. Yeah. And obviously now Lacazette seems like he's he's picked up a knock as well. So now our main man, who's never started for any Premier League club, let alone ours, is Eddie Nketiah. So it looks very bad, mate.
I think the other thing is that your team, one of the best things about it is it's so young. You've got such young players. One of the worst things about it is when you get onto these streaks, is that
it's too young.
it is, yeah. They take it a bit too personally in some ways. While if you have those old heads like the Harry Kanes and the Sons, right? This loss, I don't think that loss that they've just had, I don't think it'll affect them as much as the loss that you guys have had against Southampton. So Brighton beating Spurs, I think that won't affect him as much as what the Southampton will affect your players, if you know what I mean. Just because there's that experience in there that you guys. Your most experienced player is Xhaka, and nothing. There's nothing wrong with Xhaka in terms of if he was at Liverpool, it'd probably be, it'd be great to have that experience on there. But when he is your leader, it is quite challenging sometimes to lead that line.
I'd have to argue that though. I don't think. I think we've been watching this Spurs side do the same thing for the last decade. So, and you obviously got Harry Kane and Son that have been there for the last 5-6 years, and they've frequently done this. This isn't a one-time thing. This is, they'll go win 2 or 3 in a bounce and then get beat at home by Brighton and then be out of top 4 race.
But I think this is the first time they've had a manager that...
But they're still getting beat.
They're not really, though, are they? Not since Kane's turned it on. Since Kane's turned it on, they've won, they've been on a great win streak. They've just had one loss. 4
or 5 in the last few games.
Out of 5 games, they've won 4. They've lost 1. Okay. So they are on a much better streak. They have that experience.
You could say Conte's maybe bettered himself in, but I think the first 4 or 5 months of Conte's reign, they were winning 2 games, losing
100%.
Winning 2 games, losing 1. So I don't feel like we've now got a Spurs that we can say, maybe they're a new Spurs because Conte's there. I feel like if we actually just take the Conte effect away and we just look at the results, other than the nice run they've been on now, beating okay teams and throw City in there, I think we've still got the same Spurs. I'm not worried about Spurs.
Are you worried about United?
I'm worried about Arsenal. I don't think I can't see us now. I think the other teams will still drop points and they'll leave the door open. I don't think anyone's going to run away with it.
Yeah,
but I can't see Arsenal getting near it anymore, which is a real shame.
Fair enough. All right. Look, let's move on to another team that's I wouldn't say they're battling for top 4, but me and you have, as George would like to say, we're their biggest fans, supposedly. And I want to talk about West Ham. Now, they probably won't get top 4. Most likely, I think the other teams are better. But the reason is because they are battling for a Europa League, final now. Essentially, they're in the semi-finals. They could have been playing Barcelona. They're actually playing Frankfurt, which is a much better match for them up. Then I would say they're almost favorites for this. I just want to know, right? Do you think that this is, if they win this, how good a job has David Moyes done? Okay, and will this show that maybe Man United should have kept David Moyes?
I don't know if you can say that. I think that's a very bold claim and a wide sweeping one. But he's done no doubt he's done an unbelievable job there. He's turned an average West Ham side with largely the similar squad to they've had in the last few years. This team really, bar 1 or 2 extra signings, has been very much a low to mid-table team. But he's definitely turned the same players into a competing side. I don't fancy them for the Europa. I've been watching Frankfurt for the last couple of games, and I think Frankfurt are a very good side, and I think Frankfurt are going to beat West Ham.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I think
it's easy to say, obviously, after beating Barca, and it's like, you can just suddenly jump on the bandwagon. But I was watching them before that, and I actually fancied them to beat Barca. Wow. So I wasn't that surprised. I was surprised by the result. I think it was 4-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big result.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think that West Ham I think the struggle will actually be the final, because I think going to West Ham right now is a horrible place to go. They can turn over anybody at West Ham. Like they literally they beat Liverpool. I think they beat Chelsea. They gave City a horrid time. That I think it was 1-0 or something like that. Gave them a horrid time. It was that they are a dirty team to play against at home. I would not want to be going to our side of Stratford, let's just say. I think away, yeah, but I think if they keep it tight away and they bring it home, yeah, I think it's West Ham's. But then the final, they don't get that home field advantage, and maybe the pressure is a bit too much.
If they manage to get past Frankfurt and get to the final, fair play, and good luck to them. I think they struggle against Frankfurt. I think Frankfurt are a hard team to play.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll be.
Are they the second biggest team in London then? If they win that after Chelsea?
I mean, look, if we just look at, I've just got an interesting thing up here. So the last few years, right? So 2018-19 season, they finished 10th, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it isn't bad. 2019-2020, they finished 16th, only 5 points above relegation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the year, or maybe the year before, that Moisey took charge, wasn't it? I think it was the year before, the back end of that season, he took charge. Straight away, season after, I took him off into 6th position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, same year, you could say that was maybe his honeymoon period, but the second full season he's had, he's now again battling for Europa League places and maybe even full. So
I think people forget that he did this at Everton. Like he was unbelievable at Everton, which is the reason he got the Man United job. He had a really rough time after Man United, and I think he lost a bit of confidence and whatnot. But he's back, and he did this exact same thing at Everton, and Everton pushed in Europe as well for a little bit, not in the Champions League, but yeah.
I think this is definitely. I'm happy for him actually, because I feel like after the United saga, he lost his way, and I think he lost a lot of respect that he had rightly so built up at Everton, and I think now he's taking the reins at West Ham. He's managed to sort of prove to everyone again, look, I'm a serious manager here, and I think whether he'll get another big club, possibly. I think he's done enough at West Ham to warrant that. But yeah, we'll see. I think he deserves another stab.
Yeah, awesome. Look, we'll move on to United. I just want to quickly go over United. United have a big week, essentially, with managing. It's been known for a little while that Ralph Rangnick is not going to be the Manchester United manager, but they've been debating between a couple of managers. What there be Pochettino, Ten Hag. They've decided to go with Ten Hag, and I was a bit annoyed by this. I said to George last week that I've always really liked Ten Hag. I think he's done great at Ajax, getting him into the quarterfinals, getting him into the round of 16, and punching above their weight and making players better. And I think that's one of his key things. He makes players better, plays a good brand of football. How do you feel about him going there, Liam? And what does he need to do to make United a title-winning team again?
I think I don't see any other obvious candidates. So whilst I don't think it is a great appointment for them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for an A-star manager.
Mm-hmm. They've tried that though, haven't they?
They have. But what they haven't done, which we've just discussed with Moisey, is they haven't given a manager really any sort of amount of time.
They gave the wrong one
exactly.
Time.
They gave Solskjaer the longest amount of time, who was only in his third job, and he came from no disrespect, obviously was it Danish league?
Yeah,
Danish league, wasn't it? Or Norwegian league,
whatever it was. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think he's necessarily the obvious decision. I don't know enough about him to really put a full opinion on it, but when I saw that he'd been appointed, or I know that we're in discussions, so now they've obviously decided to go that way. Am I worried about United? Not really. I feel like this could be another. I don't feel like the United fans have got enough patience for someone like that. I feel like this could be another situation where it gets to like December next year, or maybe not December, maybe a bit further on because of the World Cup, and they're still playing a similar brand of football. fans started getting on his back. Things aren't going their way. Whether he's got enough about him to manage the dressing room, which by the sounds of it is one of the biggest egotistical.
They need to get rid of some players, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. So I guess it all depends how he manages to tackle the players and whether the fans and club giving him enough time. Because at the moment, I don't see why anyone would want to go and manage that club.
What does he need to do? Like, what does he need to do to be successful there, in your opinion? Gut the players, keep the players. Does he need to play a different brand of football? Like, what's the big things that he needs to do? Give me a couple things.
I feel like if you're talking about succession in terms of his first 1 or 2 seasons, if he's going to get that long, I feel like making them a standard top 4 team again would probably be enough to warrant him keeping his job and pushing forward and progressing. Undoubtedly, he's got to get rid of a lot of players. For years, they've gone and bought players that they don't need, and you've seen that in Van der Beek moving on, Martial. All of these players have been sitting there, and they are undoubtedly quality players, but they've just not clicked at United, and that's been a massive problem for them for a long time. So he needs to clear house, and he needs to be able to give it a chance to bring his own squad together. Again, whether he gets that chance with the same board above him will to be seen. But I think, if he turns United into a top 4 team again for the next 2 seasons, I feel like he'll be given a bit more time. And as long as he gets his own way in the market, he can let players go that he doesn't want there, and he can bring in his own type of players and create his own brand there. Then possibly it could work out for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he needs to gut the players. I think Pogba's already said he's leaving. In my opinion, I never thought Ronaldo was the answer, though I think he's a great player, and that he will score goals. He'll score goals next season. What he doesn't do is what Ten Hag wants to do, which is press and pass. So yeah,
I football.
I think the tough thing is that Man United's best player this season has been De Gea, and he won't want De Gea. De Gea cannot play with his feet. He will want to he'll do. It's the same thing with Ramsdale, where Leno was a great keeper, played well, great keeper, but that you see that as an issue because you can't play with your feet, and all of a sudden you get a Ramsdale and your team becomes better. The same thing with Liverpool, same thing with Man City with Ederson. You've got to start from that back line. If your keeper can't control it with his feet, he doesn't matter if De Gea is the best shot stopper in the league. He will not want De Gea. He'll get rid of him in the first year or 2. And that he's your best player. So I find that interesting. Yeah. Look, we'll move on to Burnley. I just wanted to quickly speak and get your opinions about Dyche being culled.
Crazy,
absolutely mental. Worst time you could do it. He's embedded in that club, so it's not like somebody can just come in and just be like, it's not like a Watford where it's built so you can recycle managers even if it's a really bad thing to do at Watford or Chelsea. But it's literally, this guy's been there for 10 years. How do you go in there and deal with that? Do you think they're done now? Do you think that's acceptance that they are going to be relegated?
I can't wrap my head around this one. I just really don't understand it. I said to you off air, I don't know if I imagine something must have happened. Something must have been said. Obviously, there's new management in there above. Sorry, so not from Dyche's point of view, but they were bought out, I think, earlier this year, or maybe even the year before.
Recently.
And there's clearly something that's happened. There's a clash. There has to be, because for me that is the only example as to what that's gone through their head in making this decision. Right? It's out of the blue. Yeah, okay. They've struggled this year, but what have we got? They've got 7 games to go. They're 3 points from safety. They've got a manager which has been there for, was it over a decade?
Yeah, it was 10 years.
10. Okay, for a decade. They've sacked him with 7 games to go to bring in a manager that, by the way, they haven't even targeted anyone yet. So
Sam Allardyce, Big Sam is the number 1.
I mean, Christ, the guy's been out of work now for 2 seasons, maybe a season and a half. You're literally you're sticking all your eggs in a basket of hoping that Big Sam, because he's done it for clubs before, maybe is going to come in now and save Burnley from the drop. To me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and I think there must have been something else that we don't know. It's not going to be reported about until probably end of the season. as to what's actually happened there, because it seems like such a crazy decision to make in a moment.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think there's got to be a backdrop for it. If there was a manager that came straight in, that's when you know that it's like, all right, look, we know that this is going to work until the last to keep us in the league. I think this is more of a, I don't know,
a day before a game as well. Something's happened there. Something's kicked off, but I think it's going to do more harm than good, especially with a set of players. The set of players obviously love him.
They had a chance of staying up because of him. Like we all have said that he is the reason that they stay up, and he can get those results when I crazy, absolutely mental firing, and I think Burnley are up against the wall now.
Sure.
Okay, look, last topic before I quickly run through all the scores. Liverpool versus United this Tuesday, so tomorrow. Big game, right? At first I was thinking, only Liverpool have something to play for. And then I was like, actually, no, that's very blind of me, because United are now, 3 points off being top 4. And so massive. So United have not only the chance to derail Liverpool's quadruple hopes, they have a chance of getting into the top 4. Liverpool need to win this game because they need to win every game, essentially. It's their biggest rivals. However, this is the most confident I've ever been for a Man United game, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because if I'm confident, then I want the players to be scared. You know what I mean? Like I want them to really be fearful, just so they can go in there and high. Like I don't know.
There's nothing to be scared of. There is nothing to be scared of. We're talking about a team that's just conceded 2 to Norwich at home. Mate, you are going to blow them away without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yes.
I don't think there's any doubt that you guys are going to win it. Even if you're not, tip-top form, you could play at 60% capacity on Tuesday night and you're going to beat them. I've got no qualms about that at all. So, yeah, don't worry about it, mate.
It's great, though, as well, because normally we don't get too many other teams supporting us, but like all the Arsenal fans, all the Spurs fans, all the West Ham fans will be supporting us because they obviously want them to lose. And then I think I actually didn't put this in the script, but just realized that you guys are playing Wednesday against Chelsea. So big game. Any predictions? Is that home or away for you guys?
It is away.
Away. So bit rough.
It's bad.
It's probably a good time to be playing Chelsea, though, to be fair.
Yes, it's not a bad time to play Chelsea, but I think Chelsea will be saying the same about us.
Yeah, that's very true.
Is a bad time. It's a good time to play Arsenal, especially with the way we've fallen off a cliff. So, I'm not looking forward to it, mate. I think it's going to be a struggle. I think as well we've got a couple of injuries more now than what we had on the weekend. So, yeah, I think this might be the pre-nail in the coffin for us.
Fair enough. Look, yeah, it's going to be rough. There's some really good games coming up. Actually, I think we're going to try and do one on Thursday today, so we'll be able to round up those games and give you some coverage on them. Look, I'm going to quickly run through the scores of this weekend. So the FA Cup semi-finals was City 2, Liverpool 3. We spoke about it. It was Konate getting another header. The guy scored 3 in the 3 games he started for us in the last 3 games. He scored a header in each. So from the corner, the guy's a monster. And then man of the match, Sadio Mane got 2 goals to put us up 3-0 at half time. Grealish came back straight away at the end of that half and got a goal. And then Bernardo Silva in the last minute just to make every Liverpool fan nervous for 4 minutes. Made it 3-2. Chelsea, by the way, Liam, at the end of this, you can give your piece on any of these games if you want. Chelsea 2, Palace 0. Palace stayed in the game for the first half, but they never looked like they were going to score. There is one thing I'm going to speak to you about after this, actually, Liam. Loftus-Cheek and Mason Mount scored. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up with you, Liam, that I didn't put in this list either, is how do you feel about loanees not being able to play against their parent squad? Now, I get why it is, because there's essentially there's biased or a conflict of interest, right? My issue is that teams like Chelsea, and I saw this on, I think it was an Arsenal an Arsenal fan
I know
TV or
exactly what you've
something.
seen it from, yeah.
It said essentially, and it was a really good point. He was like, yeah, well, how is it fair that Chelsea can loan out 20 players and they're normally the best players at teams like Crystal Palace and Southampton with Boja, and then when they play, so they get an advantage, all these teams, against every other team in the league. But then when it comes to Chelsea, they lose that best player that their team's kind of like revolving around. And I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good point. It's like a weird advantage that they get. Now, how do you feel about that? Do you agree with it?
I think the point that the guy made, I think he made a good point in a roundabout way. I think the majority of what he was saying, I don't think is right, because if you've got a big squad, firstly for me, I don't think you should have that bigger squad in the first place. Because if you're loaning out, I think Atlanta have got 64 players out on loan.
Ooh.
That sort of stuff is just ridiculous, right? I think Chelsea weren't far behind, but I think they sold off quite a few players at the start of this season. I think the simplest way to deal with it, and I do agree with the point that the guy made on AFTV, I think it's, loaning out players and improving lower league teams to try and nick points off of your competition, but then not allowing those same players to then play against you. The only reason for it is it's obviously protecting the interest of the player.
Yeah.
And obviously the club, as in the parent club, because obviously you don't want your own player scoring a goal against you and making things worse for yourself. And also it's a bit of an awkward one for the player. But I think that should be scrapped. I don't think they should be allowed to do that because of this point now, and especially for teams that have so many players out on loan. Chelsea could splash out every youth player that they've got, and there are some quality players undoubtedly.
Loftus-Cheek was on loan last year.
Exactly. They could saturate the rest of the league with their players to try and nick points off of their competition, and then none of those players can play against them. So yeah, I think that rule, the simplest way to do it is just to scrap that rule. There can be no parent club rule in there that means that if you've got a player out on loan to another team and they're due to play you, they can still play. And I wouldn't want to see players then force injuries or say, I don't want to play there because I want to play for Chelsea next season. I think if you gave Conor Gallagher the opportunity to play in that cup semi-final yesterday, do you think he would have pulled on a shirt? 100% he would have pulled on a shirt.
100%.
He wanted to play in an FA Cup semi-final.
And I think that's the best part about it, is that I think in actual, like a normal Premier League game, if it wasn't important, the manager probably wouldn't even play that player. He would just be like, all right, look, conflict. But in that semi-final, there is everybody's up for it, right? Everybody is up for it, and they would have played. They play that.
He's not going to get a winner's medal if they go on and beat Liverpool.
No,
for playing for Palace all year, is he?
No.
He wants a winner's medal. So yeah, I don't agree with it. So I hope they change it. Whether they will or not, I'm not very, very hopeful for that.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I actually am in agreement with you. I'm a big proponent of just everybody having the same team. And I think that Conor Gallagher probably wouldn't play against Chelsea in a normal Premier League game. But the big games, they would be like, yeah, well, it should just be up to the manager of the team that's playing. Yeah. Okay. The Premier League games that went through. Brighton 1, Spurs 0. Trossard got a 90th minute goal. Spurs looked diabolical, to be fair. And Brighton look good. United 3, Norwich 2. Cristiano Ronaldo with a hat trick. Dal and Pukki getting a couple of goals late to it was 2-2, and then Ronaldo got the winner. I thought they were really lucky, to be honest, United. But at the same time, that's what Ronaldo will win you games. He will just win you games. Southampton 1, Arsenal 0. Bednarek. Sorry there, Liam. You can give your opinion on that game afterwards if you want. Watford 1, Brentford 2. Dennis, Nordegaard, and Jansen. Newcastle 2, Leicester 1. Bruno getting 2 goals. Lookman actually put Leicester up. Just from like a personal standpoint, that Newcastle game was really good to watch. That Bruno late goal was great. Love it when Schmeichel's crying on the ground. Nothing better. And West Ham 1, Burnley 1. Souček and Weghorst. Look, there was a horrible injury. I'm brain blanking on the name in that Burnley game. And I mean, that was probably the key point of that game. I think it kind of it dampened that whole game. So anything you wanted to go over there, Liam, before we finish up?
Oh, I want to pick out Brentford actually. I think
Yeah,
Brentford. A lot
nice.
of people
Good
have written
point.
them off, namely George. And I think this isn't a one-off for them. They've been doing this quietly as a lower league team, relegation team that's
Mhm.
always been there or thereabouts. They've been picking up little results like this. They went through a period of season where they stopped and they looked like they were going to be in trouble. And then they've turned it around again. They've picked up some decent results and they've beaten some decent teams, home and away. So, little shout out to Brentford.
Yeah, look, Christian Eriksen's made a big difference in that.
Huge difference.
Very big. And I remember I've been quite pleased with my mid-table transfer rankings of players, because I called out quite a few of these ones that were going to be good. One that I did not was Christian Eriksen, because I just thought the Brentford were beyond saving in terms of I didn't think one player could make such a difference, and I could be completely wrong. Absolutely sensational signing for them.
And also, we weren't really aware how much he'd play
Yeah,
with what happened, right? But he's come in and he's played every game. So,
yeah,
fair play to him.
No, he's looked really good. Been really, really impressed by Brentford. I will say, I think Brentford are done next season. I think they'll go down. I think this is the I think this is the old what's it called? Sheffield United thing, where everyone's really impressed with them and then they just go down next season. Like,
Not the new boys anymore. They don't get
yeah,
the
like
benefit of
that
the doubt.
momentum will just kind of take them down. Anything else you wanted to say before we finish off?
No, all good. There's definitely a game in there that I don't want to speak about. So yeah, you can cover anything else.
Hopefully on Wednesday we'll be speaking about both our teams winning. All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks. Bye.